Claire will be putting a video on in a short while. Then Lorna, I hope you're ready. So I'm just going to...
Dottie, sorry, my internet is...
Okay, I'm switching now, Dottie.
Your internet is doing that thing.
All of a sudden, in the way it was okay.
It in Jesus' name, it has to cooperate.
Yes.
Okay, so we are live. So I think it's a good time to start. Welcome everybody. Good evening to you all, and a very special welcome to this powerful conversation today that is centered on a word that carries so much weight and yet often remains misunderstood: intentionality. Brought to you by Zion Pearl Publishers. My name is Dottie. I have the privilege of being our moderator for the day. I'm looking forward to an exciting time. Feel very welcome. So today's session is going to be a very, very special one because we are not only going to engage in a conversation, but we are also going to be shining some light on a book that is going to be launched very soon. A book that is co-authored by 10 thought leaders, women. And I know that it's going to be a powerful book that all of you are going to have a desire to read after you listen to this conversation. The book is titled Why Intentionality Matters. These are real stories, authentic, vulnerable, and full of a lot of wisdom. They talk about what it means to live and live with intention in a world that is full of distraction, demands, and constant change. So with me today, I'm joined with 3 co-authors of the book. And before I introduce them, I want to say up front that I'm not here as an expert in the subject matter. In fact, I'm still figuring exactly what intentionality means in my own life. So I'll be engaging from a point of curiosity, desire to grow. And so I hope I'm like many of the audience that are going to join us. So before even we begin to bring our speakers to us, I want to specially welcome Tabitha and Grace Juguna and Janet. Thank you for joining us this evening. When you hear the word intentionality, this is to our audience. What comes to your mind when you hear the word intentionality? Be intentional. Intentionality. What comes to your mind? One word or phrase that comes to your mind when you hear the word intentionality. I want us to be actively engaged. Drop something in the comment section. When you hear the word intentionality, what comes to your mind? I'll be reading through, and at some point we'll be reading aloud so everyone can hear. I'm expecting some communication with the chat box. Thank you so much in advance. And like I said, today we have the honor to engage 3 of the co-authors of the book, Why Intentionality Matters. One of them is Lorna Abaki, who brings powerful insights on the power of intentional living. Lorna, you're very welcome. I'll later on give you some time to properly introduce yourself so that we get to know who exactly is speaking to us. Secondly, we have Claire Munene, whose story touches with intentionality. Thank you, Claire, for joining us. An opportunity is coming when you'll get to tell us more about yourself. And thirdly, we have Rebecca Mlawasi, challenges us to think differently when it comes to the value of intentionality. Thank you all for being here today. We are so excited to have you. But at this point, if you're ready, you will go first. I will allow you to tell us more about yourself.
Thank you.
If you're ready, just mute your mic and you can proceed. It seems the mics are refusing to go on. So, Claire, you are the first one to be mentioned. Please go ahead and tell us more about yourself.
Thanks, Dottie, and hi, everyone. Hi, Becky. Hi, Lona. Happy to be here. Wow, it's so strange when you're told to tell people about yourself. I think it's a difficult thing because you think it's a process, really. But my name is Claire Munene. I'm the CXO at Ajua, which is Chief Experience Officer. My background is in business development, product marketing, communications, and customer experience. Spanning over the last like 20 years, I've had the honor and blessing of being able to work with both enterprise and I can say startup to a certain extent. I've worked with the likes of Safaricom in the area of business development, developing products and services, as well as being able to co-found Ajua, which is a customer experience platform, software platform, which is where I'm at now, as well as coaching, mentoring, training. Those are some of my interest areas because my purpose really is to coach, build capacity in the leadership space. And yes, I'm happy to be here, not only to share my journey, but also to be able to listen to the incredible journeys of Rebecca and Lorna and learn, and as well as Dottie, and learn from all of these amazing things here.
Thank you, Claire. I think you did get my disclaimer that I'm joining not as an expert, but as a learner, very curious and intentionally wanting to grow. So I expect a lot of curiosity from my end. Thank you, Claire. I think we may just follow the order in which we were mentioned. So next goes Lorna Abaki.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Sorry, my voice is a bit hoarse. I have a bit of a cold, so bear with me. My name is Lona. Yes, Lona Abaki is a passionate ICT professional. Why I say passionate, because when I believe in something, I am very passionate about it. So an ICT professional. I am also a risk management professional. And currently, I serve at the Kenya National Commission for UNESCO as an ICT officer and also an enterprise risk management coordinator. I also serve there as a board trustee for the pension for the commission. And I love, 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 love risk. If you wake me up in the morning, I love risk management. And I love mentoring young people, mostly in terms of IT and also risk management. I do a lot of coaching and mentoring for high schoolers, both on the matters IT. And recently I've come to love the ECD teachers because I have two children. And I'm very passionate about their teachers because they do so much. And I feel like giving back to them in terms of giving them IT skills, because we assume that they know better, yet they're training our children, and sometimes you find they don't have those skills. So that is one way of giving back to the community. I also love young men because I realize that we have empowered women a lot, and yet the men are left behind. That's one of the things I also do. I mentor young men in Kibra. I chose Kibra because they're not privileged enough to get this information. So I train them on public speaking. I'm a Toastmaster, so anything public speaking, I'm here. I'm a communication enthusiast, MC, moderator, all that. Thanks. Back to you.
Wow, thank you. An opportunity to learn beyond intentionality. Rebecca Mlawasi, may we get to know you just a little bit more than what I said.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm really glad to be here. I was listening to everybody introduce themselves and I was thinking, okay, do I have anything left to say? But, with the intentionality, then everybody, there's authenticity in everyone's story. So I'm Rebecca Mlawasi. I'm a mother of two. I think that's one thing I'm constantly speaking about. And I'm very passionate about communication, PR, and media in general. But currently, I serve at a company called Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company. Interestingly, I'm serving in the HR and admin department, which I know, yes, yes. So as we speak about intentionality, we are trying to blend in everything just to see where you're moving from, how you're moving, and how do you then bring all these aspects together to try and see through being very intentional, you achieve everything that you intend to achieve in the long run. So yes, generally that is, in a nutshell, that is me. And I'd love to, to know to see how this conversation goes so we can interact more. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you so much. From your profiles, I can already tell that we are in for some really good time. There's diversity in what you people do, and that collectively is going to give us, some powerful conversation. Thank you again for joining us. And to all our audience, we are also very excited to have you on board. Feel free to engage, ask questions. Of course, at some point during the conversation, we'll allow you to just speak and ask questions or write something in the chat box that the speakers can attend to. Like I said, I'm curious, even as I engage in this conversation. I would like to say that intentionality is a word that I hear a lot. And because I work with a publishing firm that has published your book, I've heard about it a lot recently. But sometimes I wonder, what does it really look like when you are living it out? And so we are here to get an experience of what does it really look like, And I would pose this to the guests of the day. Have there been some moments in your life when you realized that you are not being intentional, and that became your turning point? Has there been some moments in your life that you realized you're not being intentional and that became your turning point? You want to tell us a little or a short story around that? And if you're ready, unmute and go ahead.
I will go first.
Thank you.
You asked in moments in life, yeah, several. In my early working days, if I can say that. But what comes to mind is when I began, uh, like, I'll call it serious working, because there's working where you get this job and you just begin to work, and then now you get into an enterprise. And my first role was in the customer experience department at Safaricom Limited at the time. And so you're excited, you're young, you've just sort of left like a space, you've left college, and now there's this new organization you're working with. And yeah, I was excited. By the way, I didn't know what customer experience was. That's what I was told. There are jobs in customer experience, apply, go. And that's exactly what I did. I had no idea what it was, but it was a job. So there's no level of intentionality and purpose, and I was not so clear on my purpose. I was one of those people who just tried to be good at whatever is placed before you. But if you ask me what my purpose in life was, I really didn't know. And I think along the line when I got there, because the ethic was to just work hard and do well, I found myself growing. So I grew into training, ended up doing training, ended up leading a support team in quite, it was like, at one point, it was like almost every year I had a new role. And probably that's why I worked there so long. So somewhere at the midpoint, when I got to like that managerial leadership in not so long, I started to feel like I'm coasting through life. You know what I mean? Because roles come and you're picking them because they are bigger and better. But when you do them, you're not quite sure whether whatever you're doing is making an impact for you and whether you're happy to do it. And that was my first point. That was the turning point for me. I remember it was because there was a role that was coming up in marketing, which was very different. And coming from this other department, in experiencing and being responsible for projects and programs, I was not, I didn't know. A friend asked me, actually, she was my manager later on, and she asked, if you're moving, if you move here, we'll take you because you're a fast learner, great attitude. But she asked me, but where do you want to grow? Where do you see yourself in the next 2 years, 3 years? Where are you going? And guess what? I didn't know where I was going. I didn't have an end game. And so I took time off. The long and short is I took time off. I actually took leave. And I actually went in the bush. I went somewhere in Naivasha for 3 days to think about what I wanted in life. It was a lot of prayer, a lot of reflection. But when I left, I was clear on what my purpose is. One of the things I did was to look and see what made me happy. And what made me happy was being responsible for projects that were successful and being able to bring together teams and people towards a successful end. And I guess that's where my journey of intentionality began, I can say. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's a beautiful story, so rich with some experiences that we can learn from. What would be your own case, Rebecca Mlawasi? How was it for you?
I think I speak about mine in so many ways because I feel like I've had to really, to keep launching. I've had to step back and launch, step back again and launch. Because when I started my career early in the media career, I remember at some point I was clear about really what I wanted, but to some extent, we know how the job market is. So I remember early in the years, at some point I was called in for a job that was offering it has some good money, but here I was again faced with an opportunity where I was going into some training. And the training was, this is something that you're just going to learn, but you're not going to be, there are no incentives for it. So at some point, you have to really draw the line and ask yourself, do I want to get in to learn or do I want to make the money? So for me, being very early in my career, I wasn't so sure what I wanted. Yes, definitely I wanted the money, but again, I had to sit and think about it critically. And the fact that I chose to take up the role in training to become better in what I wanted to be in life later, it opened doors for me. So I look back today and I tell myself, maybe in this day and age today, I might have gone with the money. But again, at the end of the day, today we look at life in a very different way. But I think if you know really why you want to invest in yourself, what you want to achieve in life today, which will impact your tomorrow. And you see, I know most of us maybe are parents. It's what we do in our early days that we are still going to advise or impact in the different generations that are going to come after. So for me, really, it was a learning path for me. So there was, I know, I remember I had a couple of those incidents where I had to choose between, going for something that's going to give you some good returns or going for something that's not going to pay you very well, but still you're going to learn. Then I think also intentionality is depending on where you find yourself today. What are you doing about it? Because we tend to really want to lament about everything that we tend to do. So I take life in such a way that every place I find myself in, I'm also very spiritual. So I pray a lot. So I normally say, wherever you find yourself today, you are not there for, it's not by sheer luck. There's a reason why you're where you are. But then what are you doing with the space that you're in, the opportunity that you have? We really need to be intentional because I think in as much as maybe I found myself in spaces which were not media related, because I can tell you for a fact, I've done sales, I've done almost everything. I have sold, I have done customer service, I have done administration work, I have done it all. But then anytime I step in some of these spaces, I ask myself, this is my background, but then what am I using that I've already learned to change this space? Or what am I doing with what has been placed on my hands, and I mash it up with what I'm coming with to try and make this space better for me, or to learn from what it is that I already have. So that actually helps you to, it's like a launching pad for the next step. So it makes it very easy for you. If you step into a different role, it becomes very easy. So for me, that has really been a life learning journey for me. Intentionality has always been key. I know even today, I keep telling myself I'm not where I want to be. Yes, but still, I'm here today. What am I doing with the space that I'm at currently? So I think those are some of the things that I critically think about. And I believe tomorrow, even when I sit as that old granny in the house, advising my grandchildren, I think I'll have those 2, 3 words of wisdom that maybe are gonna help them in future. Thank you, Doti.
Thank you, Rebecca. It might have been difficult for you then to make that choice. I don't know if my perspective would be right, but I think it would have been easy to make that choice, money or the box, in our current
In our current, it's the money.
Definitely, somebody would go for the money, or most people would go for the money. I don't know where we would place intentionality in that situation, but I think it would be easy to just go for the money in these current times. I don't know how many people agree with me on that, but that is my perspective. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Lorna, we finally get to you. What has your own case been like? What were those moments that really just bring a holistic turnaround?
Okay. For me, it started while I was still young, being in that home, seeing my parents being very intentional in how they even raised us, already sparked something within me. I didn't realize it because in your subconscious, you pick some things. Later in life is when now you are able to see a whole picture in a very different way. And I realized that I was already born and my parents were very ready in terms of entrepreneurship. I didn't know that I had carried it along the way. Right now, I don't have a business. I have a part-time business, but I'm not fully an entrepreneur. But I realized slowly that some things were infused in me. And I was very intentional and deliberate. Back in high school, I knew for sure I'm going to do anything to do with technology. That one I knew for sure. I don't know if it's because I'm born in a family of boys. I have 5 brothers and I only have one sister. So you can imagine the boys, and they influenced me maybe in a certain way. Because in our home, we are 4 people who are in tech. So it's quite interesting. But me, for sure, I knew I'm going to deal with things like engineering or computer. For sure, I knew it. And after high school, I remember my dad asked me, "What course do you want to take?" And for me, I knew it was technology. But I wanted to infuse it with something else because I have a love for people and I'm very passionate about impact. And to me, the way Rebecca was saying money, I believe impact versus income. For me, it's impact. Even if I'm getting that small amount, but someone is happy home and saying, "Lona, you've touched my heart." To me, that's everything for me. Impact over income. So this journey, I went now to, after high school, I now went into the workspace and I realized that I was not placed in technology. Just like Rebecca said, you maneuver along the way. I was in records, being in those dusty places and the filing and all that, you get cold each and every single day because of the dust and all that. But I never understood because I kept on asking myself, I'm very spiritual, of course, and I was asking God, what is the purpose of this? Why am I in records? Why am I in these files and all these things? Yet I've studied technology. And then now I'm now pushed to into HR. Would you believe it that I've done HR for 3 years with no
Wow.
background of HR?
I
So I was
believe you.
wondering, why am I in HR? Records just being pushed here and there. But all it made sense clearly. All is making even sense right now. My husband and I were running a real estate business. So you can imagine we're starting from ground up. Who's going to write the job description? Me. Who's going to do the record keeping? It's me. Who's going to train the new staff? It's me. Then all these things are making sense. And I know they'll even make more sense even later. If I didn't take it very well, or if I didn't take it positively, then I wouldn't have gained what I wanted. And to me, that journey of intentionality now began. That anywhere that I'm placed, be it in records, be it pushed in HR, or tomorrow the HR says, Lon, I think in tech, we need to move you and take you maybe to admin. I would take it not with a pinch of salt, but with gratitude, knowing that this has a purpose in front. So that's the journey for me. And I'm still rediscovering myself. As much as I am in tech, I'm still wondering, God, are you still pushing me somewhere else? Right now, I'm in public speaking, things that I never thought that I would do in the future. So I'm in that journey of intentionality that every space that I'm put in, I maximize it and ask God, why am I here? And I know for sure it's going to be used to another journey and another journey and another journey. So that's how my intentionality journey came. Thank you. Back to you.
Wow, those are such rich stories. Now, I think I'm not letting you go, Lorna. Stay there. So also looking at your chapter, you've just mentioned about your upbringing. And of course, in your chapter, you've written something about parenting with intentionality. You've talked so well about your dad and equally about your mom. Would you share with us briefly what your experience was like and some of the lessons that you picked from what it was like?
Wow. I get so emotional when I talk about my parents. They've been such a blessing to me. And at times you don't realize how they impact you. But later, as you grow and you become also a parent, that's when you realize indeed they were very intentional on how they even nurtured you. And I can quote the Bible that it says, train up a child in the way that they should go. When they grow up, they will never depart from it. For sure. Sometimes parents do something and they don't see the fruits immediately, but later we pick it up. And for me, the lessons that I learned from my parents, one was love. Loving, loving, loving. My dad has a very big heart. And that was a challenge for me, even as I grew up. Loving guests, people coming in, being a preacher's kid. It was not an easy thing because our home was like a sorry to use this word. I don't know. Let me not use that word. Our home was a, a bee of activity, in and out, guests coming in, going out, and it was a challenge for me. And I really had to work on myself because my dad opened his heart to people. And that's the lesson that I got, that he loved intentionally, no matter who came to our home, no matter the strangers, the guests, the enemies. I remember one time there's an enemy. There was a guest who came and really spoke bad about my dad. And my dad offered him his heart and loved him so gently. And to me, that lesson stuck with me because he loved intentional. It was not emotional. And I realized that love is not an emotional thing, but rather it is intentional. If I don't like you right now, I'll keep on trying to love you and love you and love you. And the more I do it, and then I'll love you eventually. That was the lesson that I received from my dad. And mom, as I've said, as an entrepreneur, she intentionally brought us into entrepreneurship. And I don't want to spill up the beans. I don't want to talk much so that guys can buy the book. So there's so many nuggets that I received inside there. And I've written about how my mom really walked us to that journey of entrepreneurship as young as we were. I think from about the age of 6 years, we already went into entrepreneurship. So I don't want to spill the beans and talk more because I know I can spill the beans, but I don't want to talk much about what I've written in the book. Back to you, Dottie.
Thank you. I found that interesting because in your first conversation, you just mentioned about them, and I remembered that is where your chapter begins from, talking so well of them and some of the values they instilled in you. And it is coming out like it is possible to be intentional even with how we parent our kids, because then it forms who they become and influences their decisions in the future. If you get to talk to them soon, tell them we have passed our greetings to them and we are proud of them for molding you into the person that you have become. Now, Claire, I get to you. There is something interesting with your writing, and I think when I say that, you already know what I mean. There is this leadership acronym that is marked and aligned to your name, Claire. I've been trying to find one for my name. Probably by the end of this conversation, I will know how exactly to go about it. Tell us more about it.
Okay, the acronym. Okay, it's just a framework that I stumbled across. So when I started deciding to lead with intentionality, getting exposed to teams and working in project teams, doing project management, there was a lot of training, a lot of coaching, a lot of learning across the way. So you pick things, and I'm the kind of person who, when I learn something, I write it and it goes in my journal, and then I figure out what did I learn this year. Along the way, and more recently, this framework came up 4 years, 6 months ago. That's when I realized it was mapped to my name. I know exact. Actually, if I sat down long enough, I can tell you right down to the day, because it's somewhere in a journal. But the bottom line was, I was like, okay, God, you would like me to build capacity, build synergy in the marketplace. That's how I look at it. And I think Rebecca talked about this a bit when she was talking about the generations. And so my understanding was, I am the floor for the generations that come after me. And I need to be a good foundation as a floor. I need to set up my foundation so well in delivering what God has called me to deliver in terms of being a channel through which the next generation shall be trained in the areas of leadership, because they're the leaders of tomorrow, such that they will stand on my shoulders, because my shoulders are their floor. And if I have built on a shaky foundation, for those who are familiar with some of the great writings in the Bible, it talks about the wise man building his house upon the rock. And so looking at myself as a foundation for leadership, what will I stand on? What will it be? What gifts has God given me? And that's how that acronym of my name came from. It was built on that particular understanding. So I picked my gifts, and like they said, I'm not going to share what those details are. But if you buy this book, then you will see. Sneak peek. If you buy it, you will get to see and also pick. I believe everybody on this call, everybody called to leadership has their own gifting and has their own. So Dottie, you have yours. Just go in the secret place and get yours. Yes, everybody has theirs, and it is picking that gifting that you have that adds value and builds on others. So that's what I'll say about that framework that is aligned to my name, that is a leadership framework for, what shall I say, for building capacity and getting the best out of the productivity of the people I work with.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Claire. I thought you'll say more about that, but I love the way you have put it. This book is out, very much available. You can make an order and have it delivered to you as soon as tomorrow. Since it's already evening, we can have it delivered to you as soon as tomorrow if you want to get to know more about that acronym that we are talking about. So there will be some links availed on the chat box. You can go ahead and pre-order for this book and have it delivered to you. Actually, you order because the copies are out. You can get it as soon as tomorrow. And like I also mentioned in the beginning, we are looking forward to launching this same book not very far from today, on the 21st of June. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that as we continue to have this conversation. So we've talked about intentionality. And if you're keen, you get to pick that. We're talking about leading with intentionality. Number one, our speakers today are leaders who are leading with intentionality. And if you listen to their experiences, you get to realize it is more about leadership. Now, to my audience, come to think of this and maybe just reflect. What is one area of your leadership style? You know, sometimes we think we're not leaders, but if you have anyone that you give guidance to, it could be at your place of work, at home, or even if you're just a self-leader, if you're leading yourself, you know, if you have no one else to lead, if you feel so, then you can lead yourself. What is one area of your leadership style that you want to be more intentional? What is one area of your leadership style that you want to be more intentional? You can make use of the chat box, drop it there. No explanation, just drop one word or just a phrase, and we can look at it even as we continue with this conversation. I repeat again, what's one area of your leadership style, whatever level of leadership, that you want to be more intentional about? Now, Rebecca, we get to you. Rebecca, please. Yes, thank you. So Rebecca, going through your chapter, I took note of this chapter that specifically explores why intentionality matters. You know, the title of the book is Why Intentionality Matters, but then you have a specific chapter that explores that particular subject, why intentionality matters. Would you kindly give us a sneak peek into what that entails?
Not to say that I was repeating myself, but I found it very interesting to put an emphasis on it. Given that I believe we all view intentionality as, in different ways. We have, glass half empty, half full. Everybody has their own perspective. So for me, I think I took time to really go deeper into detail because I thought my perspective of it might not be somebody else's, but maybe if I share my perspective, it helps somebody else to look at life in a different light. So really, it's not to twist anybody to believe, because it's very interesting, actually. It's very interesting. Before you buy the book, please note it's very interesting. So not to say I'm trying to change. Actually, it is trying to change somebody's perspective, because if you have a way you look at things, and maybe the way you look at things might not be working for you, this is a way to maybe try and, alter your thoughts to try and see how best, then can I tune my intentionality into something that's going to be productive. Because I know to some extent I broke it down to purpose and, finding purpose in what you do. And purpose actually really is driven by intentionality, because it's what we focus our minds to doing that then drives us to getting it done. So I was about to go a bit deeper into it, but then, yes. But then that, in a nutshell, that is what I intended it. That is what I wanted to just strike that emotion and tell people, in as much as, yes, today, tomorrow, even with a case study, with a case study that maybe I started with, and it brings about the perspective of what are you thinking as a person? And based on what you're thinking as a person, is it going to be productive enough for you to achieve something? And anytime you do something, you will achieve a result. But then we need to sit back and ask ourselves, what I'm looking at, is it what I had initially wanted to achieve? And based on what you are seeing in front of you, is it worth what you really put in the work for? So I think for me, that was it for the intentionality bit. I know I have gone deeper into some of the things that maybe I'm very keen, or maybe some sports I'm very keen on. But yes, that's just to drive the point home. But that is the whole point.
I love the way you're just touching the surface.
Yes, because I want them to buy the book.
You're fiercely protecting the cat from leaving the basket. And that's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because this is all put together in a beautiful book. And like I said from the beginning, the book is so authentic, so real. The stories in there are very vulnerable. These ladies have shared their stories raw, with very powerful lessons that you can learn from. We have a link in the chat box. If you're already feeling you're ready to get a copy of this book, click on that link, make an order, and you can have the book delivered to you as soon as tomorrow. And I posed a question at the beginning. I want to revisit this question because I expected our audience to drop me a word that comes to their mind when the word intentionality is mentioned. And one of the audiences, Grace Njuguna, went ahead, and for her, the word that comes is commitment. Intentionality, you mentioned intentionality, she thinks of commitment. The rest of the audience, what comes to your mind when you hear the word intentionality? Personally, when I hear the word intentionality, I think of purpose. What about you? Drop something in the comment. Let us see the variety of thoughts that come to people's mind when the word intentionality is mentioned. Now, to our speakers, yes, Tabitha agrees with me that she thinks of purpose. Thank you, Tabitha. We have the same thought line. Now, to our speakers of the day, I would like us to share with us one intentional habit, and maybe you can help us understand how it came to be, one intentional habit that you have built that at the stage where you are, you simply cannot do without. One intentional habit that you have developed over time or you have built over time. We would like to hear how it came about. And this should be something that at where you have reached now in leadership, or even in your career, or even in your parenting or your relationship, it is something that you cannot do without.
Okay, maybe if I could go faster.
Yes, thank you.
I think one thing I have embraced with both hands is learning. Learning, because I know I have not spoken much about my journey in my chapter, because I spoke about it earlier in a different publishing. But one thing I'm keen on is learning. Learning why? Because I was one of those people who prioritized family before anything. So going into it quite early meant I needed to focus my energies. And you see, I think when you are pretty not sure where to strike the balance, you tend to lose, you lose a hold of one thing and hold on to one very tightly. So for me, motherhood was everything for the longest time, which was beautiful. But then I forgot about this part of my life. But slowly in the job market, in my career and everything, I got to learn somehow I could strike a balance, because even now with my preteens, I'm able to strike that balance, which I didn't know early in my life. But today, I have put such emphasis on it, to a point that every opportunity that I get to learn, I take it and I take and run with it. Because I believe even at two, and I like Lorna. Lorna, you said you're a Toastmaster. So I'm very keen on the and and I'm very keen on that. Yes, I also do Toastmasters once in a while, but every opportunity I get to learn something, even 5 minutes of my sitting space, I normally try to get out with at least one or two things which I didn't know. Because you'll not, and one thing also, even in learning, you also need to be teachable, and also be ready to learn, because many a times we tend to think we know everything, which we don't. So I guess we need to strike a balance between the two. So for me, that's one thing I have constantly spoken about. Anytime you get for me, if anytime I get an opportunity to learn something, and I'm grateful because I'm with an organization which has invested heavily in trainings, capacity building for them. It's a huge, huge investment. So for me, really, I feel like at times, it's like heaven's opened and, I'm looking at heaven itself. So it's a great opportunity. So it's a beautiful thing. So I tend to encourage people, anyone you're in your early careers, you want to start a family, try to strike that balance. Because either way, once you get to that point, you will still have to learn how to do it, because learning never ends. It never does.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. That is powerful. And as the curious learner that I am, as you're talking, I'm thinking then there's a likelihood that it is possible to be intentional in one area at the expense of another, or generally be intentional in one area and overlook other areas. And I think I will invite the other two speakers to respond to that. What do you think, Claire, from your experiences?
Oh, wow. What do I think? At the expense of another. Okay, I look at it. I agree. I think the output would be you would see that you're intentional in one area, but how I choose to look at it is that you prioritize an area over another. And so when I was listening to Rebecca, I was thinking about, she challenged me in my head to think about what balance means for me. And balance for me is being able to prioritize what matters at the moment. And so it is not a scale that it's not equality. It will never be equality. It is just, for me, understanding seasons, understanding shift in seasons, and prioritizing what matters in season. Having said that, then it means, yes, I have excessed in one area. So, for example, there was a time my spiritual life was the most important thing to me. And so all the learning I did, all the things I did, all the focus was geared towards driving that goal. Because in that particular season, that was what I felt was lacking. I fast forward to a season where everything was about coaching and building capacity in my coaching ability. So going for training in coaching, exposing myself to coaching opportunities, opening myself up to giving people free coaching. It yani, you know, because in that season, based on whatever the plans I had done were, that is what was important. And when I look at that, it all stems from one of my most important to do. You talked about like one of our, I won't call it a habit, but maybe an ethos. For me, why I have journals from 2010, 2009, 2008. In fact, I have to burn them sometimes, but sometimes I keep them because I like to see the the evolution of me, the evolution of God's faithfulness to me, in being able to decree a thing and establishing it. I believe you can decree with your mouth, and you can decree in writing. So I like to plan short term, mid term, medium term, and across all areas of my life. So, and it's done in journals, and there are different activities planned. Until I have that thing before me, the habit I've built is it becomes difficult to manifest. Let me put it like that. If it didn't enter that planning diary, book, whatever, and it goes all the way from my children, my what do I want for them? What am I purposing to things that you would consider simple, like a holiday. I mean, if I want a holiday this year, where is that holiday going to be? What do we intend to achieve? Um, and right down to there. So I've broken it down in 7 key areas in life. Maybe to mention family, friends, my career, my faith, and so on and so forth. And under each of those areas, I pick 5 key things I would want to achieve in the year. Then there are 5 key things in 3 years, and then 5 key things in 5 years. And that sort of keeps me in check. Yeah. I
Great
hope I
thoughts
have
there.
answered you somehow. Yeah.
Great insights. Thank you. Thank you, Claire. I'll be getting back to you, Claire, on this intentional habit you're talking about. So you can breathe a little, and we can have Lorna share her own. What is this intentional habit you have built over time that you look at your life and where you are currently, and you can't just do without it?
Okay, the habit that I've built over time, it's learning to say yes, and yes on purpose. Being a Toastmaster, I remember one meeting that we attended, and our division director said, we just say yes. And to me, it really resonated. And saying yes, not out of pressure or guilt or even the fear of missing out, but from a place of clarity. Having that moment in your time by the end of the day and reflecting, how has my day been? Have I achieved? Is it in line with my values? And every yes that I give today is a seed that I've chosen to plant for the future. And it means also guarding my soil or guarding even my heart, because at times we can say yes and it's not in alignment with your purpose or even with your values. It's just because out of the fear of missing out, everyone is moving there. So let me just say yes. But that's what I used to do before, saying yes to everything. And it brought a clash. The way you're talking about balance, you're a mother, you're saying yes to everything, you're a wife. So you keep on being preoccupied with so many things, yet are they in alignment with your purpose? So to me, learning to say yes and on purpose is the habit that I'm carrying even today with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lorna. Oh, the conversation is interesting. I'm learning. The curiosity is slowly toning down because I'm getting more informed. Probably in the next conversation, I'll be featured in as an expert in the subject matter. I can come there and replicate what you have shared with us today. So, Claire, we are back to you. We also would like to hear this habit that you have developed over time, that you have intentionally, the keyword is intentionally, over time that you feel at this stage of your life, it's a must-have and you can't do without it.
I'm just still reeling from the shock of what Lorna has said. She has said saying yes on purpose. Very deep, very powerful. Because as I was listening to her, I was saying, yeah, just saying yes to the things that are purposeful. So yeah, I picked that's key. And having said that, mine was sort of the opposite of hers. Learning to say no. Just say no. So it's so strange that you've picked me dirty, because I was feeling, oh no, 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 no. Please pick Rebecca. But mine was the opposite. But now that I listen to Lorna, there's a positive twist to I can adopt her way. It was learning to say no. I'm sort of the kind of person who likes to move on things. So this thing of stalling and people refusing to take up tasks, to take up doing things, uh, sometimes, many times, aggravates me, especially if I'm working with people in a project and you really want to move forward with speed. So I would tend to many times take on things that were either not my core competency or things that I wouldn't like to do anyway, just because everybody was shunning those things or refusing to do them. It got so bad at one point. I remember in one of the teams I was, even when my team members were slow, uh, then I would pick up and say, okay, so where have you reached? Okay, we needed to finish this at this time. I'll pick on this half, go on. But along the route, my journey, I learned that I was stifling other people's growth. It was, allowing them to make mistakes, allowing people to fail, allowing the temporary failure for a future success by saying no. And it's not difficult. It's not difficult to do, to say no. What's difficult is knowing that the no is going down, and it's going down badly. And then I'm going to have to sit here and go through this and be dressed down and all these things. But training myself that it was for future good, and also building my leadership skills, in the sense that people beginning to appreciate and respect whatever guidelines or whatever rules we had in place for delivery. So mine has been the habit of taking a deep breath and saying no. I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'm sorry, the deadline has not changed. Yeah.
Wow. I love the contrast between those two experiences, learning to say yes on purpose, and that is powerful. The purpose part of it gives it a lot of value. And also on the other side, learning to say no. So we have a yes, yes kind of experience and a no, no kind of experience. I think I would love to bring it back to what I have learned from your conversations is, having your priorities right. What matters at this moment? Then you can say yes to that. If it can wait, probably from what I'm understanding, we can attend to that later. Do you agree with me? Making a good student, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, we know that we are also talking about the book, Why Intentionality Matters, a beautiful book, already published, ready for you audience to pick a copy and get to read more of these experiences. We only have 3 of the co-authors of this book. This book is written by 13 women leaders. And like I said, the stories in here are very authentic, very real. They're very vulnerable. They're sharing them as they are for the purpose of building you up and helping you to stay intentional or begin being intentional with the things you do. We'll be launching this book on the 21st of June at the Trademark Suites Inaki from 2 p.m. On that particular day, all roads will be leading to Inaki. I don't know if you have other plans in place, but we can talk and have you change plans because you don't want to miss this book launch. Great conversations. Imagine these are just 3 of them. We have 7 more to listen to on that day. So that brings me back to them. There's a common theme that is running through the entire book. At least from every chapter, you realize there's a bit of some self-leadership and general leadership from how people have expressed themselves and the stories they have, written in their chapters. I would like to know, I believe you have looked, if not through all the chapters, you have looked to maybe other authors' writings. Can we agree to that? You have looked to at least another author's writing. And at this point, I want us to also tell us what is one thing you have learned from another chapter. You may not have to mention names or even quote the chapter, but what are some of the lessons, just a lesson, that you have learned from any of the chapters that has contributed to this book? And because, Lorna, you were the first to speak in the last whatever we have discussed, you're going to be the first one to speak on this one. What is one thing you have learned from another chapter other than yours in this book, Why Intentionality Matters?
So one of the lessons that I've learned, as you said, we don't mention the authors, it's intentionality is not a practice. Rather, it is becoming. It was quite deep. It quite hit me that intentionality is not practice. It's not a practice that I do, but rather it's in becoming it. Then I become intentional. So be it in all your life areas, be it in your spirituality, if you're married, be it in your marriage or even in your parenting, your career, your business, your financial management, that you become it. It's not just practicing, but becoming it. So as we speak about intentionality and purpose, it stems back to purpose. And purpose, you can't separate it. It's you. if you tell me, Lorna, this is Lorna, and I'm living my purpose. So intentionality is becoming that thing, and it's not just practicing, which is outward, but rather it's something that stems from within, becoming it. And that was powerful for me. Yeah.
It is indeed powerful. Intentionality is not a practice. It is a becoming. Wow. That is indeed powerful. Rebecca.
I think.
Yes, Claire, you can go. You can go ahead.
I was just thinking of the one that said that adversity reveals you, or adversity reveals your intentions. And that was hit me like a ton of bricks. That, we've always said adversity is a test. Huh? But what it says here is that adversity exposes the real me. So if somebody wants to know me, they just need to throw a little adversity at me and watch how I deal with it, because then it shows what my real values are. I can walk this room the way I walk, I can talk and sound good, but what happens when complexity comes to me? And it's important to understand the me when there's adversity, so that I can begin to shape the me I want, because adversity actually reveals the real intentions. Yeah.
Adversity reveals your intentions. As you're talking about that, I'm thinking of the analogy of a sponge that has absorbed a particular kind of content or liquid. If you press it, it's going to ooze out exactly what is within it. So when hard time comes, then the real you shows up. So adversity reveals your intentions. It reveals exactly who you are. I think so. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Claire. Rebecca, we are very eager. What have you learned from another author's, from a co-author's writing?
I think for me, what stood out is the fact that, intentionality is about you need to be very deliberate about what you want to do. And I think that in itself will define for you what really intentionality is, because in most cases we will, yes, we will want to do something, but then that deliberate move that pushes you into it, I think that for me is what stood out. Yeah.
You have to be deliberate.
Yes.
I would want us to dive deeper into that. And so I'm going to call forth your two co-authors to just say something about that. Being deliberate when it comes to intentionality. What is your take, Lorna?
Okay, being deliberate, as I've said, if already you're in purpose, you have to be deliberate. And it means putting your all, everything, your mind, your soul, your time, and ensuring that you achieve that which you want. Because there's a place I mentioned in the book where it says, when they saw the beauty of the land, they bent their shoulders to the Lord. The Lord meaning not Lord, but the Lord, Mzigo. When they saw the beauty of the land, they bent their shoulders, like, add me more, Lord. I have seen the beauty, kindly add me, Lord. So being deliberate, intentional, or intentionality, and meaning you become deliberate, it also means that your sight is very clear. You're able to see the beauty of that which you want, be it in your career, be it in your business, and you tell yourself, this is where I want to go. This is the vision that I have, and it's on purpose. Kindly, let me put the load on my shoulders, be it in my time, my finances, everything. You will load yourself and say, I'm going there. So that is for me, being deliberate. Yeah.
Wow. Claire.
I agree with two of the co-authors about being deliberate is being mindful and being very clear about what works and what doesn't along your journey. What do I mean? I've seen instances where I don't wait to be prompted when I see how something is going in a project, and I really don't want to be a part of that project because it's outside of the direction that I am taking. standing up to say, I'm not taking this direction because it doesn't work for me. So that from the get-go, it is clear I will not be considered. Being very clear on spending time for certain things, being deliberate about how I spend my time. There are only a few hours in a day. Um, you know, my nieces, nephews are important to me. I set time out in diaries quarterly to be able to spend at least one breakfast morning with them just to hear how life is going. And on that morning, aki, 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 unless it is a crisis, I am sorry, I cannot come for the wedding. I am sorry. I realized we do a lot of date adjustment and time adjustments because we are not intentional. But it's sad. If it came, I can't come for your wedding. However, I will see you after. I will make time to visit you in your new home. And it's a difficult thing to do. But for me, that's what being deliberate is. You set these times in the calendar. You said you are going to do them. Do it. The least you can do is make it happen. And it has made me miss things that I know I have missed things where I have cried, literal tears, by the way, where I have had to cry because I wanted to, an opportunity came to be somewhere else, but I had committed to be with a friend. And because I believe that friendship is important to me, then because I believe that friendship is part of my journey in this season, so be it. I'm not going to reschedule them. Yeah.
That sounds tough. But talking about intentionality, my question would be, so Claire, you mean you don't do cancellations?
I rarely, cancellations come, but they are rare. I can count them. They are rare. But I've had to teach myself. So you can imagine if that is so important for me, when you do it to me, how hard you hit me. When you see me. And that's how I look at it. But I've had to teach myself that my values are mine. They're not for other people. So I leave mine for myself. So I've not learned, but baby steps.
Okay. That's interesting because as you're speaking, I'm looking at my own life, and I don't know whether I should call myself to be having excess empathy. And sometimes I can let go of my very important things to attend to something that I didn't commit to. And probably that has worked against me or for me in some circumstances. What is the experience of the two other co-authors? On this thing of your purpose to do something, you commit to something, and then something comes up on the side, then you're divided in between, and you eventually find yourself, dropping what you had initially planned and picking the new one that has just come up. Now that you are intentional women, leading with intentionality, how do you handle such situations?
Okay, if I may speak for myself, I show up for people who show up for me. That's one thing I'm very careful to do. And I used to be a yes person. I think yes with knowing. Lorna, you said with no
On purpose.
on purpose. Yes, I just say no to everything to be nice, But I came to realize people really don't care. So you need to also be very careful. Guard your heart. You say yes, but say yes to something, where your conscience is clear. And the fact that we tend to be okay with so many things, it's still not okay at times. But we are afraid to speak out and say, I'm not comfortable with this, and I'm not comfortable with this. And if I may relate it to even relationships, a lot of times you find people get, and, I know it's not a very good example, but people fall into, separation and divorce. Why? Because you're there and everything is okay for you. You're okay with everything that is happening. But deep down, you're not okay. So you bottle up so many things to the point where, when it explodes, it's like you see a Coca-Cola bottle. You shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. So when you open it up, everything comes out, spilling. So that's why I think it's very important, Claire, you brought it up, because know where to draw the line. Because if you don't know where to draw the line will finally draw itself and you will not like it. So I think we really need to be intentional about saying no. But then again, we also need to be very careful with what we are saying yes to. So I think, I feel like it's a catch-22 when it comes to yes and no. So we really need to know how to strike that balance there.
Mhm.
Yes.
Saying no and saying yes on purpose. Lorna, this won't end without you saying something. What's your take?
I'm also learning from Claire and Rebecca.
Mhm.
For me, it's you give value to where you're valued.
Mhm.
Just like what Rebecca said, but I'm paraphrasing it, that you give value to where you're valued. Otherwise, you'll end up giving too much. And it's not about being reciprocated. You see, things like love, you don't do it again to be reciprocated for it, but you give out wholly. But also, if your value cannot be seen, that even the smallest of things like me rescheduling and you're not seeing the value, what's the point? And it has happened to me many a times because someone would wonder, why are you changing? You're supposed to do this and that. But if I do and measure, where do I get the value? If you value me, I'll give out my all. But if there is no value, you don't value what I bring, then of course it all boils down to my time and resources that I give. I'll not just give where I'm not valued. Yeah, in short.
Isn't that
Or
profound?
have I answered? Sorry?
Isn't that profound? Give value to where you are valued.
Valued. Mm.
Uh-huh. So that determines my no and my yes as well. Powerful. Thank you for that. You know, when I was coming into this meeting, I viewed intentionality as just something about, you know, the big things of life, the big decisions. You know, you want to change your career, you want to get married, you want to relocate to another country. But as you people talk, I'm getting to realize that it is about the daily choices, the small things we do on a daily basis. You know, it affects here, it affects there. And so we can't just leave it for the bigger things of life. It is the small things that we make choices on a daily basis that eventually builds the bigger things that we become or we do in life. Wow. Huh? This has been a thought-provoking and grounding conversation. I'm so glad I was part of it. But we know we cannot end this conversation without talking about the launch. If we do that, we'll be doing injustice to this book. So I know you'll be part of the speakers of the day alongside your co-authors. And because we are launching this book on the 21st of June at Trademark Suites in Naki, I would love to know from you, authors representing the entire cohort that has brought this book together. What should your audience of the day expect to experience, to take away with them on that launch date? What should the audience of the day expect to experience and to take away with them on that launch date? I want each of you to say something about that. And if you're ready on this one, I'm not going to call you by names. Just unmute and speak it. You know, I'm a potential attendee of that launch. Give me a reason for coming. Give me a reason for coming. I'm a potential attendee of that launch. I want to come and support you people, but why should I come? Why don't I just buy the book? In fact, I already have a copy. Why don't I just keep the book and don't show up for the launch?
So, Dottie, maybe I was about to say fire, but I said, okay, no, that would sound so wrong. So, but then again, one key thing I noticed about all of us, there's a lot of diversity in terms of professional and in terms of how we write, how we speak, and how we relay our messages. And our stories are totally different. They're cut across, from end to end. And this is, for somebody, whether you're in the field of communication, in the field of HR, IT, we have everybody represented, and everybody is coming out to tell, whether they're telling their story or they're telling, you know, some learnings that they took out of life about intentionality. So you're going to not only learn, but you're going to also interact with people who, are out there to even speak to you about what life has been, where it is now, and where we project to see ourselves. So really, and I was speaking to one student, and I was telling them, by the way, I'd love for you to come. I'd love for you to come and learn, because if I was exposed to such opportunity at an early age, then it would have really helped me through my career. So this is for anybody, whether you're in school, whether you're, anybody who's looking to do something with life, not that just in their career, anything, because we not only speak about, our professional lives, we speak about everything. So I believe I have sold it, but again, yes, we hope to see each and every one of you. Please come. We'd love to interact with you. We'd love for you to interact with the book. And it's a brilliant book. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. While we wait for the other two to also give us a reason for coming to support them on the day, I want to quickly read what is on the chat box. I think Grace was answering to the question, what comes to her mind when she hears the word intentionality, and her comment was commitment. Then we have the other person, that is Tabitha Karamu, said what comes to her mind is purpose. Then we have Daisy. Daisy has written something there. Let's get to read what she's saying. My biggest takeaway is that instead of striving for a perfect 50-50 balance, between career and family at every moment, it's more sustainable to flow between them based on what's most important in a given season of life, being intentional. Powerful. Thank you. Thank you. This is Daisy Ilamwenya. Thank you for that comment. Then we have Caroline Zomo. Caroline says she's loving the conversation and she's giving you ladies a kudos. Congratulations to you, ladies. Let's write them a congratulations note in the chat box. They should know they are appreciated, and we are looking forward to reading this book and to make a difference on how we live our lives and how we lead. We are going to put more intentionality into place. And then Caroline Zomo has also echoed what has just been said by one of our speakers today. Give value to where you are valued. Those are powerful reactions from our audience. It speaks to you, speakers, authors of the book, that we are catching something. It has not been in vain. I know somebody is not in the same state of mind they were in when they came back, Thank you so much, ladies. I think at this point, let me give an opportunity before we get to hear from the other two speakers of what we should expect at the launch. I want to give a very special opportunity to one or two people. If I get one, well, if I get two, great. To, just say something. Be intentional. Take advantage of this opportunity. Probably you're the next author writing on another, subject matter. You have something you want to say, complimentary, something to contribute. This is the time. You can just unmute and speak. It looks like today, they just want you, the speakers, to have your day. Probably when we get to the launch and we give people an opportunity to also say something, because we're looking forward to having you, probably then you will be ready to speak. But I can see Tabitha's microphone is off, has been put on. So Tabitha, you want to say something? Tabitha Karanu? Or has it been like that? I'm seeing your microphone. Okay, Tabitha wants to say something. Karibu sana Tabitha, speak to us. We can't hear you. Okay, while Tabitha is still trying to probably sort what it is with her audio, if there's any other person who has a comment to make, I will allow us to do so in the next few seconds. Daisy, your microphone went on and then off. Can we bring it on? Did you want to say something?
Apologies. I'm trying to balance being a mom with no nanny and attending this a webinar. I was very intentional about attending it. I just want to say big congratulations to the authors. I'm biased. Lorna is actually my sister-in-law.
Oh.
Also, I was like, yeah, I definitely have to join it. I'm sorry if there's so much background noise. My kids are everywhere running around. But I feel like this conversation is very timely. It's something like a lot of women I feel would resonate with, especially at this time when especially in terms of parenting, having a career, having money goals. So it's something that would really help a lot of women who are probably struggling with burnout and struggling with feeling that they're not enough for their careers, for their home life. Yeah. So a big congratulations, and we look forward to the book launch.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Daisy, and you're very welcome. An intentional support system. Let's give a hand clap for Daisy. Thank you so much, Daisy. We are proud of you, an intentional mom, taking care of the baby, but still making time to learn. We appreciate you. I don't know if Tabitha, you have sorted your audio issue. Do you want to give it another try? I can see you have put it on, but we can't hear you. So probably it is not working yet. Maybe you can opt to just text something in the chat box. We will read it aloud so everyone can hear it in case they don't have access to it. Otherwise, thank you for wanting to contribute. Your presence is also very highly appreciated. Okay, so I think that has been such a powerful conversation. It has been very, thought-provoking. I'm feeling grounded. I'm feeling informed. I'm feeling educated. I'm feeling more aware of myself, and I'm beginning to just reflect and see some of the areas that I need to improve on. And I want to believe that somebody even in the audience is like myself, who came in with very minimal knowledge, but from what we have just talked about, there are some new things that you have taken in and that are going to be helpful even as you work on being more intentional with your life and particularly, with your purpose. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you for sharing not just your stories, but your hearts as well with us. And before I forget, we need to hear what Claire and Rebecca are promising us. It was Rebecca who spoke, and Lorna are promising us, during the launch. So maybe Claire, you can go first.
What do I say? The launch, saying yes on purpose. You need to know where to draw the line, or the line will be drawn for you. Now, if you want to catch many more transformative principles, like I have in these last few hours, I already have key principles that I can apply that I didn't have to drive change and transform your space. Tafadhali, don't miss it. I will be there, not just to launch a book, but to learn some more. So welcome.
Thank you, Claire. You're promising us a learning experience. We are eager, very eager. And of course, on that day, you can let the cat out of the box, even as we get copies of the books. So
Yes.
that day will be more interactive than what it is today. Lorna.
All I can say that you expect to be stirred. This is not just a lounge. It's a mirror and a megaphone. You will be stirred, and the energy, it will be electric. The message very clear. You'll feel engaged, seen, and empowered. By the time you leave the lounge, you're not going to be the same person because you'll have authentic connection with us as the authors, as you've already seen, full of wisdom. Authors full of wisdom, and you'll be very inspired, and you'll live more. You will live more than that, the way you came. Sorry. And I want to add on to what Rebecca was saying. Fire. There'll be a new fire that will be sparked within you. Fire, fire, fire. And even a new tribe. You never know. A tribe of intentional women. You will not just live as Daisy, but you live as a Daisy living with intentionality. Yes.
That sounds like networking opportunities, right? Thank you so much. I love the way you have put it. So powerful. The message will be very clear. The whole event will be electric. Then you add fire on top. You can already imagine what it's going to look like. That's going to be a very glamorous kind of event, and we don't just want to miss you there. If your schedule permits, you can decide to say yes on purpose. Now that we know that we can say no, but we can also say yes on purpose. You can decide to say yes on purpose and choose to join us on that day. Tabitha Karanu says, this was very powerful. My take home is saying yes with purpose and saying no. That is what she wanted to say. It has been very powerful. Her take home is saying yes with purpose and saying no. Personally, as the moderator of this conversation, I have been moved. I am inspired. And my advice would be to our other audience on that other side, make sure you get your hands on this book, Why Intentionality Matters. If you go on the chat box, you'll realize we have a link where you can make an order, and we will arrange a delivery to your location of choice. We also have our number displayed there in case you need some assistance, you have some questions, or you need anything clarified. Feel free to call us during the office hours and someone will attend to your need. And before I forget, you also want to register for the launch. We also have a link that will allow you to register for the launch. You can click on the link and read through. There are very clear instructions and information given to help you make a decision. We have that link also in the chat box. Make use of it. And when you come to the launch and you see me or any of us, just remind us that you are part of this conversation and you decided to say yes on purpose. So even as we break tonight, we are going to be saying yes on purpose and saying no when it is needed. Thank you so much, everyone, for being part of this conversation today, primarily to our speakers. You have actually poured out your hearts to us, and we don't take it for granted. We honor you, and we celebrate you on this milestone. Congratulations again, even as you become, officially published authors. If this is your second, third, or fourth book, this is adding to your list already. If you're a first-time author, it is just the beginning point, and we can't just wait, but look forward to reading more and more of writings from you people. I also want to give a very special thank you to the founder and director of Zion Pearl Publishers, Mr. Radido also, for giving us an opportunity to just engage, interact, and build each other. Mr. Doso, wherever you are appreciated. We call him he for she, he for she, He's a he, but for she. So just know that you're appreciated. And together with me is a team without which this would not be possible. So to the entire Zion Pearl team, also, you're very much appreciated. Thank you for working behind the scenes to make sure that everything runs like it should. I think with that, all I can say is asanteni, and do have a restful evening. Until next time, in our next webinar, or until we get to meet at the launch, stay blessed. My name is Dottie. I've had the privilege to be our moderator, and I have enjoyed the session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Rebecca and Lorna, thank you so much for your participation in our today's webinar. That was powerful. I've literally enjoyed every bit of it. I loved your composure. You